I mean, I don't know, there were just two sides to him. There was the monster, and then there was, I mean, he was generous to me in an incredible way, but you saw all these other terrible sides of him, like he was a schizo.
He was shy. He was basically a very shy man, socially shy.
He wasn't just standoffish. He made people were afraid to go up to talk to him, no matter who they were.
We were inspired by him in many ways, but I don't know. I don't know.
15 años después de su muerte, la leyenda de Lee Strasberg sigue viva. Fue un maestro que enseñó a actores unas técnicas conocidas simplemente como el método. Su salón de clases era una antigua iglesia ubicada en el centro de Manhattan, llamado Actor Studio, y produjo algunas de las estrellas más famosas del mundo.
Marlon Brando was there, James Dean was there, Montgomery Clift was there,
Stephen Queen,
Dustin Hoffman,
Paul Newman, Al Pacino,
Jack Nicholson,
Carl Malden,
Robert De Niro,
Anne Bancroft,
Ellen Burstyn,
Jane Fonda,
Julie Harris,
Harvey Keitel,
Ben Gazzara,
Shelley Winters, Kim Stanley, Sandy Dennis. I mean, all the most interesting, the juiciest actors, the most idiosyncratic, the most neurotic, the most introspective, all of them have been trained or in some way touched by Lee Strasberg.
Entre ellos, sus alumnos han recibido más de 100 nominaciones a premios de la Academia y, de acuerdo con ellos, todos se lo deben a Strasberg.
I believe that acting as we know it today in film, American acting is, it has been influenced by Lee Strasberg. There's no doubt about it.
El método de Strasberg produjo un nuevo tipo de actuación resuelta y cruda, pero sobre todo real.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
Para lograr actuaciones como esta, Strasberg hacía a los actores buscar en lo profundo de su memoria y aflorar emociones en carne viva. Pero para algunos, este acercamiento psicológico estaba lleno de peligros.
Now, when you put Marilyn Monroe together with someone like Lee, you have a recipe that can be perilous.
Nobody had a neutral reaction to Lee Strasberg. People either were worshippers and acolytes, or they despised him.
Egocentric, I would say. Completely.
brilliant, irascible,
intuitive,
childish,
perceptive,
occasionally very kind, and too often a bit cruel.
Lee Strasberg, el hombre del método.
Alfred? I don't know what I'm doing.
First thing the actor has to do is just to stand on the stage and begin to think. Sure. Now go ahead. Go ahead.
Alfred? Alfred?
All right, now quick. Quick. Because he's liable to wake up, no? You see how you take your time as if, well, I got to do this. He's not going to wake up. I read the play. But you're not supposed to have read the play from that point of view.
My memory is that it was this really warm experience, but when I look at it, he was really being tough on me.
You see how you sidetrack to do something and don't continue what it is you're doing.
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, but I have to say that as soon as Lee started to talk to me, it completely focused me.
You see how you give everything away. Then it's exactly what is not to be done. That's mechanical. That's one of the problems that the actor has to maintain. You play with 10 fingers, not with one finger. You know the people that play the piano with one finger? You know, chopsticks. No, keep going. Don't look at it. Don't anticipate. No, sir. Look, you look and you already do. Look, I pick something up, right? And I pick it up. Okay, I pick it up.
He would seem to get mad. I mean, and really come at you. Looking at it, it looks like an attack. But when I was on the other side of it, I'd experience as an attack.
And by the way, how did you call Alfred?
How did I call him?
Yeah, how does one call when you try not to wake somebody, and yet you want to make sure that in case he's awake, how do you call?
He would ask questions, and it would be like your answer would be a little thread, like Ariadne's thread, that he would start following with another question and another question until he got deeper and deeper and deeper in you, until finally he got to that point where you're tender and exposed. And from that point, you act.
Strasberg, que se llamaba Israel Strasberg, nació en Galicia en 1901. Cuando tenía 7 años, se mudó con su familia a Estados Unidos y se estableció en la parte baja del este de Manhattan, el corazón de lo que era entonces la Nueva York judía.
This is the area that immigrants from Europe came to in the early 1900s. And this is where Lee lived with his mother and father. And I believe he lived here with his brother Saul also. But they lived here for, I would say, 15 years before they moved up to the Bronx. Lee did come from a Yiddish-speaking family, grew up speaking Yiddish, and knew it all of his life, and went to school here. He went to the Hebrew High School.
Strasberg creció con el teatro yiddish y hasta fue diletante por un tiempo, pero no lo tomó demasiado en serio, y su destino parecía estar en la firma de pelucas de la familia. Entonces un día, el Teatro Arte de Moscú, encabezado por el legendario Konstantin Stanislavski, llegó a la ciudad. Strasberg, de 22 años, observó asombrado cómo la compañía le daba la espalda a la audiencia y se comportaba en escena como gente real y no como actores.
When I found that, I must say I became, for the first time, interested in the theater. Till then, it was only something I did as a youngster, but I had no interest in the theater professionally until this ignited something of the same thing, I suppose, that I am now trying to do for other people.
A partir de entonces, Strasberg dedicó su vida al teatro, pero no a los placeres extremos ni a los finales felices de Broadway. Apuntaba a algo más puro. En 1931 ayudó a fundar el Group Theater, una compañía decididamente consciente, comprometida en obras serias. Pero era también un lugar donde, inspirado por su héroe Stanislavski, él podía desarrollar nuevas técnicas. Strasberg decía que la emoción no podía fingirse, que debía sentirse, y para lograrlo desarrolló una serie de ejercicios psicológicos de memoria.
His specialty was the thing he loved more than anything was effective memory, which was going back into your life and remembering an occasion that was similar to the occasion in the play and getting that emotion and putting it into the play.
Strasberg era fanático de su método, que no siempre caía bien en el ambiente democrático del Group Theater. En poco tiempo hubo una rebelión en las filas. Finalmente, el Group Theater rechazó a Strasberg y su método, así que él decidió ir a Hollywood y probar suerte como director. Pero Hollywood tampoco lo quiso y quedó reducido a filmar pruebas de pantalla y documentales de guerra.
When victory is won above all else, the end of war means a return to loved ones.
Llegó a detestar a Hollywood y todo aquello que representaba.
I don't think he liked it, and I don't think it liked him, you know, in that sense. Obviously, if you're a man who is incapable of discussing things and developing relationships and making compromises in Hollywood, you're in a lot of trouble.
For about 12 years, he was sort of wandering in the wilderness. He felt he had the answer to how to create truthful acting, but nobody was listening to him, or he didn't have a forum in which to express his ideas.
Pero todo esto estaba a punto de cambiar. En 1947, Elia Kazan, uno de los antiguos alumnos de Strasberg del Group Theater, le ayudó a instalar un taller privado donde los actores podían refinar su arte. Se llamó el Actor Studio y tuvo éxito inmediato. En poco tiempo necesitó un maestro a tiempo completo y Strasberg era el candidato obvio. Y fue así como, durante los 30 años que siguieron, cada martes y viernes entre las 11 y la 1, Strasberg daría audiencia en una antigua iglesia griega ortodoxa de la calle Oeste 44 en Nueva York. Las estrellas en ciernes y los talentosos de Broadway lo escuchaban, sentados juntos, en silencio respetuoso, desarrollar su trabajo. Finalmente, Strasberg había encontrado su nicho.
It seemed to me in this particular scene that you did, or rather in this particular improvisation that you did, that the element of character was left out. I got it only at one moment, actually, when you sort of smiled to yourself. There was a kind of a, not exactly fiendish, but nonetheless a kind of a strange glee at what you had done. And that had an element of strangeness, of weirdness, of duality, which is more or less the kind of thing that you are now looking for in the character.
Eli, was I a member of the actor studio before you were?
No.
I got in 52.
No, I was the first class.
The chairs are more expensive.
Now?
You didn't have that comfortable chairs.
No,
Now, of
no.
course, they spent more money here.
I'll pretend to be Lee.
Lee was over there.
My hair's all white now, so I'll be Lee.
Yeah.
All right.
Jimmy Dean used to sit there.
All right.
Jimmy, I was over here.
Gazara,
Near the door, so I can make a getaway.
Get
But
up
I'll
and-
sit here next to you, Lee.
what's the scene you're going to do?
Ah, God. What agony. What's the scene you're going to do?
Every actor in New York wanted to be a member of the Actors Studio. And the year I auditioned, 2,000 auditioned that year, and Steve McQueen and I were the only two accepted that year. So we felt we were part of something new, something exciting. I mean, there was an energy, you know. When you walked into that room, there was a buzz.
It was formed as a safe place where one could make terrible mistakes, fall flat on your face, and it didn't matter because you were in a very safe place. And frequently you learn more when you make mistakes than when you're perfect. So it was a marvelous workshop.
The man just coming in is Lee Strasberg, director of the studio. Elia Kazan is behind him, one of the founders.
El Actor Studio era ante todo un taller de teatro. Con sus recuerdos de las amargas experiencias en el cine, Strasberg desdeñaba a Hollywood y a veces persuadía a sus actores de que rechazaran papeles en el cine.
The idea was that you were going to develop your work and craft and come to a certain point where you would use that to inspire the public, to make them see the truth of things, you know. And not Hollywood, which he felt was lying in its stories and was exploiting the actor's abilities to make the lies work.
Pero a pesar de los esfuerzos de Strasberg para mantener a sus actores fieles a las tablas, el atractivo de Hollywood era irresistible.
Hey, Stella! Hey, Stella!
I wouldn't mix in this. Cuando Elia Kazan convirtió a su éxito de Broadway, Un tranvía llamado Deseo, en película, los espectadores del cine probaron por vez primera la actuación del método y pidieron más.
Kazan began to use them in the movies. Then people began to be aware of this, you see, that there was another way of going, that acting had a kind of vulnerability at the center of it, which made the work effective, charming, enticing, charismatic, and that it was a new way of expressing life experiences.
Dad. Dad. Stan, don't. I mean, you shouldn't. Don't. What are you.
We felt at last someone is giving us acting that doesn't even want to be grand, that wants to be intimate, close, and injured.
Remember that night in the garden, you came down my dressing room and said, "Kid, this ain't your night. We're going for the price on Wilson." You remember that? This ain't your night. My night, I could have taken Wilson apart. So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You was my brother, Charlie. You should have looked out for me a little bit. You should have taken care of me just a little bit so I wouldn't have to take them dives for the short-end money.
Well, I had some bets down for you. You saw some money.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
It liberated them from cliche and expectation and expected behavior and allowed them to do the marvelous thing that when Rod Steiger pulls the pistol out in the backseat of Waterfront.
Before we get to
Listen to me, Terry.
Take the job. Just take it. No questions. Take it. Terry, take this job, please. Charlie. Please take it. Charlie.
And Marlon doesn't go, "Whoa," or "Hey, what are you doing?" He does something totally different and unexpected. He suddenly has a wave of compassion for his brother, that his brother has been put in such dire circumstances as to have to resort to something so untypical of him.
Oh, Charlie.
And you look at that scene again and again, and you think,
wow,
what a brilliant piece of inspiration. Now, that's method acting.
I tell people when they're joking about method, I am a method actor, always. And whether I'm doing Norma Ray or something seemingly lightweight and silly, I am quintessentially a method actor. I prepare totally with the methods with which I was taught. So I would never lose the accent. I would wear the clothes she would wear. I would go and work in the mill.
Whatever it is, I didn't do it.
I would walk around and use whatever exercises to find her walk and find her rhythm and be it, so that you were no longer acting, you were behaving.
Strasberg always talked about a character having an inner monologue, which the actor supplied. And if you could read that inner monologue on the character's forehead or in the character's eyes, you're communicating a sense of an inner psychological state.
Have a little reserve. Don't go to the top of what you got. Stay under it. Don't hit the top. Don't hit that top note. You know, and because there's the tendency for the actor to want to really feel that they're really fulfilling whatever it is they're trying to fulfill if they go as far as you can go. And he always would say, pull it back.
Find it, express it, suppress it. That's another way of saying it. Find the emotion and then find a way to allow it out and then hold it back the way the character would. And if stuff leaks out, that's what's supposed to happen.
Pero el método tenía otra cara, una que desafiaba la pura clasificación y que estaba estrechamente ligada al carácter de Strasberg. Kazan la llamaba su don para la rabia.
He was a man who scared the shit out of actors. They would get up there on the stage and they would just literally not know what they were doing for the hell of a long time until they got going.
He was
exceedingly demanding. It was relentless. There was never, okay, you finally got it. We never got it.
I mean, the meanness, the terrible angers and hostility and even violence, those terrible lips were ah.
You want to know about Strasberg, don't you? I'll tell you a story about Strasberg. Some years ago, I signed to do a play called Country Girl, and Lee was directing it. And we broke one day for lunch, and we walked down the street. And as we were walking and talking about the play, some guy behind us says, "Hey, you dirty little Jew. You're Jew this, you're Jew." I said, "What is this?" And Lee says, "Don't pay no attention to him." And this guy keeps on saying, "You Jew bastard, you Jew this, you Jew that." I said, "Lee, that guy's insulting us. I'll break that guy's neck." And I grabbed a hold of him, and I belted him on the chin, and he went down on the ground, and I was going after him, and I think I would have killed him. And Lee says, "Tell me, how do you feel? How do you feel when he did that to you? How do you feel when he says those things?" "How do I feel? I feel I want to kill him." He says, "That's great. That's absolutely great. Now, that's what I want in the play. That's what I want in the play."
We believe that the actor is capable of creating reality to a greater extent than in any other art.
El compromiso de Strasberg con la actuación era total y los actores lo veneraban por ello. Nadie tomaba lo que ellos hacían tan en serio. Su mayor admiradora era la actriz con la que se había casado en 1934.
Paula Strasberg, married to Lee Strasberg, dedicated to 50 years of good listening.
Para mediados de los 50, con su hija adolescente Susan, una actriz de Broadway por derecho propio, los Strasberg eran la primera familia teatral de Nueva York. Se decía que si a uno no lo invitaban a su fiesta de fin de año, era mejor quedarse en casa y que nadie lo viera. Pero la vida con los Strasberg no era siempre fácil.
The home was built around him, and my mother made sure of that. And we were there as a family. One had the feeling of being there to serve the idea of the family, that the Strasbergs would be a great theater family.
My father was so busy being a father to so many other actors that by the time he came home at night, he had no energy left really to be a father and to his own children.
He was someone who had extreme difficulty both in communicating, in having equal relationships with anybody. When people come into the house, all of a sudden it's the wonderful Strasberg family, and then when everybody leaves, it's kind of like deflate the balloons and put them away until the next time, or whatever. Is something that you don't forget.
En 1955, Strasberg recibió un reconocimiento totalmente inesperado. Marilyn Monroe, la mayor estrella de Hollywood, anunció que iría a Nueva York a aprender actuación con el máximo maestro del teatro. Para Marilyn, para Strasberg y para el Actor Studio sería un encuentro fatídico.
I think she was of a mindset at that time that she was being used, abused in Hollywood. She was a piece of meat, that she wasn't, out of her own background and insecurities. I think she wanted to become an actress and get the badge put on her. And who better to put that badge on her than the high priest?
Los estudiantes del Actor Studio tenían que acostumbrarse ahora a ver a Marilyn Monroe regañada, sentada, callada detrás, tomando notas con dedicación. Algunos se preguntaban qué podía hacer ahí, pero Strasberg no tenía dudas. Strasberg tenía grandes planes para Marilyn Monroe, pero nadie podía imaginarse la magnitud.
So I'm eating lunch with Lee at the cafeteria right down the block, and Lee Strasberg now says, "I have an idea, Ben. I think you and Marilyn would be interesting in Macbeth." I had a tuna fish sandwich in my mouth. I almost choked on it. I didn't say it to her, but I couldn't hear. Marilyn was sitting here. I couldn't hear her say good morning. How this woman was going to play Lady Macbeth was beyond me. But you see, that's the other part of Lee. That when he had a crush, he got blinded, and he had a crush about. I don't mean a sexual crush, a crush on this girl, as though that she could be a woman who could do anything. And of course she couldn't. She wasn't prepared to do that. And in a way, I think that hurt Marilyn also. It confused her.
Pero Strasberg también creía que Marilyn Monroe podía ser la mayor actriz del método entre ellos. Su famosa niñez problemática había creado una reserva muy profunda de memoria emocional. Si solo pudiera acceder a eso, pensaba Strasberg, ella podría desatar su potencial dramático total. No es necesario que su pasado la destruya, dijo. Podría aún convertirse en parte del vocabulario y de la técnica de un nuevo arte. Pero antes, de acuerdo con Strasberg, Marilyn debía desbloquearse psicológicamente. A insistencia suya, ella empezó a visitar a un psicoanalista situado convenientemente unos pisos más abajo en el edificio de apartamentos de los Strasberg.
This excessive emphasis on dredging up the past and using the model of psychiatry and the model of crisis to understand your gifts as a talent was absolutely appallingly perilous in the case of Marilyn Monroe. This is exactly what she didn't. She was on a treadmill dealing with the past. She didn't even know who her father was. So to put her in a situation where she was constantly dredging up childhood feelings simply made her feel more rootless and more without moorings than ever before in her life.
Pero a pesar de los peligros, la actuación de Marilyn Monroe adquirió una profundidad nueva bajo la enseñanza de Strasberg. En Bus Stop, su primera película desde que se había unido al Actor Studio, el público vio una muestra de la nueva Marilyn.
Anyway, that's how I got my direction and all.
Direction?
Oh, sure. If you don't have a direction, you just keep going round in circles. And look, you can see by this just how straight my direction is. River Gulch, that's where I started. This is where I am now, and look where I'm going. Where? Hollywood and Vine.
Look at Bus Stop. That's a great dramatic performance and a method performance. It was a performance coached by Lee Strasberg and his wife, Paula. It's a terrific performance. You can talk and criticize about their interfering, and they were riding to fame on Marilyn's coattails and so forth, but they helped her give a terrific performance. Could she have given the same quality of performance without them? Probably not, is my hunch.
Pero no a todos les gustaba lo que Strasberg le hacía a Marilyn, sobre todo a Laurence Olivier, que la había escogido para actuar con él en El Príncipe y la Corista. Esta comedia ligera que iba a dirigir el mismo Olivier parecía requerir un toque suave en vez de la emoción cruda que el método proporcionaba. Se preparó entonces el escenario para una batalla épica.
Paula Strasberg became kind of a surrogate mother to Marilyn and became a world-class pain in the ass in terms of the film directors who had Marilyn in their cast, but they also had Paula sitting right outside the line of the camera saying, you know, and giving all kinds of body language instructions as well as sort of dictating what the actor should do.
If Marilyn had had a very hard day filming, she and Paula would ring Lee in New York, and Paula would pour out all Marilyn's problems to Lee on the phone. And then Marilyn would get on the phone and Lee would try and give her some advice and encouragement. Olivier saw this as a tremendous act of sabotage. He felt that Paula was coming between him and Marilyn. He didn't realize that he couldn't do anything with Marilyn anyway. He felt that he had to reassert his authority over Marilyn all the time. And this often meant banishing Paula from the set, telling her she must stay in the dressing room, contradicting what she just said, all of which was really pointless. Didn't have any effect at all.
Paula has been unnecessarily vilified over the years as being a rather manipulative pest. As a matter of fact, she was a real mother surrogate to Marilyn. And yes, she was the keeper of the pills. In those days, everybody had a pill keeper. But she was also the calmer. She was also the facilitator in both the cheerful and the not so cheerful aspects of that word.
Después de 16 semanas de fricción, la película finalmente se terminó Y de nuevo el método obtuvo resultados.
Say, listen, I could use a short one. I need it for my heart. It's kind of beating down here.
So sorry.
It's all right. It's not your fault. In fact, if I'd known this was all that was going to happen, I wouldn't even have been nervous. Long life to your Grand Highness.
Cheerio.
Better luck next time, only not with me, of course.
What we see is Laurence Olivier essentially wiped off the screen as actor in that film by Marilyn Monroe, who's absolutely charming, despite the horror to which she was subjected, because Olivier made no secret of his distaste for her circle of handlers, i.e. the Strasbergs.
Marilyn Monroe nunca llegó a actuar de Lady Macbeth. The Misfits, la última película que completó, la adentró aún más profundamente en el método. Pero al final, el potencial dramático que Strasberg esperaba desatar sencillamente la inundó. Cuando habló en su funeral al año siguiente, Strasberg insistió en que sus ambiciones respecto a su alumna más famosa eran justificadas. El sueño de su talento, dijo, no era un espejismo. Marilyn nombró a Strasberg en su testamento, dejándole sus efectos personales y una participación de 75% de sus bienes, que hoy valen millones. Pero también dejó un legado más complicado. Después de Marilyn, la actitud de Strasberg hacia el éxito y la fama parecieron cambiar, y con ello la naturaleza en sí del Actor Studio.
I think that the Strasberg who knew Marilyn Monroe in the early 1950s was a number of light years away from the man who founded the group theater with Clearman in 1931. He'd become, I think, somewhat intoxicated by adulation and then demanded more of people around him. He became a little bit publicity mad.
He absolutely adored his own words and thoughts. He started taping them, and gradually everything that he had to say at the studio was taped for eternity. He also, this is what disturbed me, started to bring in observers to hear what he had to say. Directors, producers coming into the studio. It was gone as a safe place. And I finally gave up because I thought, you know, if I'm auditioning, I want to audition for a role.
You know, when it changed from the, you might call it the young idealistic days where you'd rather be a member of the Actor Studio than do a feature film. I remember those days. You'd rather be a member of the Actor Studio than be in a hit play.
Right.
Being a member of the Actor Studio was the dream of every young actor, you know. Right. But then something happened in the 60s. An infusion of strangers.
We got older.
Well, an infusion of strangers. I don't know. People, I don't know. I thought they weren't idealistic enough. That's what I thought. Yeah. They weren't willing to turn down 7-picture deals.
Oh, I wouldn't turn down 7 pictures. Not now, I wouldn't. Not anymore.
Neither would I.
No.
Para principios de los 60, contratos para 7 películas se hacían muy corrientes entre los alumnos de Strasberg, pero aun cuando Hollywood podía reclamarlos, ellos se mantenían leales al Actor Studio.
Surrounding me here are several of the members of the Actors Studio Theater. Mr. Paul Newman, Miss Geraldine Page, Mr. Rip Torn, Miss Page and gentlemen.
En 1961, algunos de ellos reunieron dinero para fundar el Teatro del Actor Studio, donde se actuaba en obras en vivo frente al público.
I think it gives me an opportunity to come back to the theater, which is very much a part of it, something that I need, get back in front of an audience, doing the kind of plays that I want to do under a limited run kind of engagement.
Strasberg no había dirigido actores desde los años 30 y ahora que tenía una reputación que perder, su nerviosismo en esta nueva empresa era evidente.
He was terrified that now that he had this fame, that we would let him down. You know, it would be a reflection on him, and he would fail. So he surrounded himself. Everything he wanted to do was with stars. And the reason for that was to protect himself.
Al principio, la fórmula de estrella dio resultados. La producción de Strasberg de Las Tres Hermanas de Chekhov, con un elenco de lo mejor del talento del Actor Studio, fue un éxito en Nueva York, así que decidió llevar la producción a Londres.
The method. Well, what is the method, and why are we devoting 1.5 hours to it at this time of night?
Always very critical of British acting. He thought British acting was external, artificial. It focused on what he thought wasn't important, which was good speech and proper diction and projection and good manners and elegant body language. And he thought all of that was a lie and that was all fake.
It's accepted in America, it's used throughout most of the world, but in England it's regarded with a higher suspicion.
I've found actors who are very keen on this particular method. When you rehearse with them, they tend to distort the text very often because the emotion is to them more interesting than the words.
Sometimes from these kind of questions it seems as if everything was wonderful in the theater. There were no troubles, no difficulties. The theater was great until method actors came along.
La producción londinense de Las Tres Hermanas se estrenó en el Teatro Aldwych el 13 de mayo de 1963. Fue una noche que Strasberg trataría de olvidar por el resto de su vida. El elenco, que se cambió de prisa tratando de acomodar a aún más estrellas, no había practicado lo suficiente. La primera presentación, cargada de largas pausas y apuntes cerrados, se sobrepasó 60 minutos.
It was awful. The production, it was awful. It was long and it was boring. And the next morning, my father came into the theater and just started screaming at the actors. He blamed them. He said, how could you have done this? All the work, blah, blah, blah.
Chekhov al estilo del método. El esfuerzo total es absurdo y angustioso. Es como tocar un clavicordio con guantes de boxeo, como llenar la escuela española de equitación de hipopótamos. El dolor se vuelve neurosis. Los soliloquios se vuelven paranoia empeñada. Y así la noche se arrastra yendo de mal en peor, haciéndose más y más lenta.
The reviews for that play are shocking. They're so horribly negative. And that really ended the Actors Studio Theater. So the English destroyed the Actors Studio Theater with the most horrible reception of a play in the history of the English theater.
Strasberg regresó a Nueva York y nunca volvió a dirigir. Al año siguiente perdió a su partidario más devoto cuando Paula murió después de una larga batalla contra el cáncer. Strasberg se sumergió en lo que mejor hacía, la enseñanza. Durante los 60 y los 70 emergió una nueva generación del Actor Studio y su reputación quedó triunfalmente reconfirmada.
Lee was thought of as the guru, as the great teacher, as the great man, and indeed he was. While I say it with a certain kind of, I guess something critical is in my tone and in my attitude. On the other hand, there was nobody smarter about how actors acted than Lee.
What I respected so much about Lee was his reverence of the work. I felt for him the work was a way of life. He had this intensity, this passion to do what is right, to work for what is real, for what is real, the human experience, for a real human experience. Invariably, it was inspiring. He theorized about it. And if you got pieces of it, patches of it, one found the best way to deal with it was to sift it and take of it what you could use. And I'm sure that's what Lee was putting out. He was throwing a lot of things out for you, hoping that something would stick, that you'd catch something, and that would be what you sort of worked off.
Fue Al Pacino el que colocó la pieza final de la leyenda de Strasberg. Persuadió a Francis Ford Coppola de que le diera un papel a su maestro como el gángster Hyman Roth en El Padrino segunda parte.
There's a guy who's this acting guru. Whether it's been earned or not, I don't know. It's just that that's his reputation. And he's asked now to act. And he didn't even flinch. He just said, yeah, I'll do it.
Mr. Roth?
Come in, Michael. Sit down. Make yourself comfortable. It's almost over. You follow the football game?
Not for a while, I haven't.
I enjoy watching football in the afternoon. one of the things I love about this country. Baseball, too. I loved baseball ever since Arnold Rothstein fixed the World Series in 1919.
He's terrific in the film. I think it's like a kind of manifesto of what the method gives to the film actor. You look at that performance, and on the surface the character seems absolutely bland, but underneath the subtext you see that the character's cruelty, his ruthlessness. After all, he's a mafioso. He's a vicious character, but he plays him like, on the surface, like a sympathetic, absolutely humble, modest, unassuming Jewish grandfather.
You're young, I'm old and sick. What we'll do together in the next few months will make history, Markham. History. It's never been done before. Not even your father would dream that such a thing could be possible.
And Pentangeli is a dead man. You don't object?
These small potatoes.
One actress said, I hope you won't mind what I tell you, but I went to see a movie, and let me tell you, I had my stiletto out, she says. Yeah, he's talked a lot, and he's told other people, okay, now, let's see what he's going to do. And she says, I sat there, and as it started, as it went on, she said, oh, not bad. Hey, he's all right. Finally, she says, gee, that son of a son, he's good. So, but I must say I had not realized that people would be sitting with those kind of both positive, but at the same time often contradictory kind of reactions. I really was a little bit foolish in not foreseeing that, because now that I think of it, if it hadn't worked out, Jesus, it would have been, I don't know, it would have been terrible, literally.
Strasberg fue nominado al Oscar por su actuación y continuó haciendo 4 películas. En 1968 se casó con Anna Mizrahi y al año siguiente creó el Instituto Lee Strasberg, con sucursales en Nueva York y en Hollywood. A diferencia del Actor Studio, en el instituto había que pagar. Las camisetas utilizadas por los estudiantes llevaban un atrevido letrero, actor por Lee Strasberg. El pronunciado alejamiento entre Strasberg y el tipo de éxito ofrecido por Hollywood ya había concluido.
I think Lee was ready for change. He always felt an outsider. And being an outsider, he wasn't part of a warm group kind of thing. He always felt that he had to achieve more. And I think in the mellowing, once I remember when they were honoring him and they were doing everything and he had done the movies and he says, I must be doing something wrong. All this acceptance, you know.
I think he discovered that that's what he wanted all along, to be famous in a commercial Hollywood way, and that Hollywood could give him that fame.
Everybody in America wants fame and stardom, but Strasberg had set himself apart in a kind of private, idealized realm in which all we're interested in is studying acting and perfecting the art of acting. We're not concerned about commerce and making money and agents and billing. And yet, there was a contradiction in his personality because at some level he wanted those things too.
En febrero de 1982, Strasberg, con 80 años, participó en un fastuoso espectáculo de Hollywood, el tipo de evento que una vez había despreciado. 3 días más tarde, murió.
Lee was an older man. He always was an older man. We were all much younger than Lee. However, never entered, certainly my mind, that he'd ever die. So that it was a shock. Lee can't die, not Lee. And of course he did.
An actor uses all the fingers. A pianist uses all their fingers, not 2 fingers.
Hoy día, el método de Strasberg es un movimiento principal que forma parte del actor tanto como ejercitarse en el gimnasio.
I feel that you've just gone through the effect of memory.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Okay, not at all bad. Relaxation is good. Is fairly good. Start the exercise.
Su sueño de un teatro norteamericano noble y sin fines de lucro no se ha cumplido, pero el legado que le dejó al cine, ese medio que una vez dijo despreciar, es real y duradero.
Like him, despise him, venerate him, revere him, condemn him. He is the most important teacher of acting, and he disseminated an approach to acting which is with us still. Lee is still the patron saint of many, many American actors.
So I did say to Lee one time, you should, this is dangerous what you're doing. You should not practice psychiatry without a license. He said, well, what?
Well, you know, he did get dangerously incisive with a lot of people, and they couldn't take it.
Right.
And you know, there's something interesting. When you do a piece of good work, it even today crosses my mind. I wish Lee could see this. Despite the fact that all